My name is Dreama. My dream has always been to create a warm, ordinary family like the ones in TV animations, always full of smiles. I want to live a life filled with dreams. I was told that this is the hope my parents had in mind when they named me. However, my parents passed away, and I was raised by my grandparents. Because I didn't have parents, I was often teased whenever I moved to a new environment as a child, which made me develop a habit of constantly watching other people's reactions. Even so, my grandfather would share old stories and talk about books, which made me fall in love with reading. My grandmother gently taught me household chores and cooked with me a lot, so I was confident in my cooking skills. However, wanting to improve, I started attending a cooking class where I met my husband, Jacob.
You cook so well. It's hard to believe you need a cooking class.
Well, I was raised by my grandmother. Having little experience talking to men, I overreacted in surprise, but Jacob said he found my reaction cute. And after dating for a year, we got married.
You're the wife of my clueless son. Get to nursing him right away. Don't you even know what's needed? Ugh, I thought she was perfect, homely, caring, and quiet, but she's slow. That's right, she's useless if you don't tell her everything step by step.
A year into our marriage and living together, life was far from the marital bliss I had envisioned.
Since you don't have any relatives on your side, it's embarrassing for me if we don't balance things out. You'd be embarrassed too, right?
Embarrassed?
Yeah, it's a waste of money. Let's just get married for now, and maybe we'll take some wedding photos later. Isn't that considerate of me?
When he said this, trying to appear kind and thoughtful, I felt slightly uneasy. But considering our finances, I wasn't particular about a wedding ceremony, and thought it would be fine if we at least had photos. I wish I had thought it through more at that time. Maybe then I wouldn't have been so deeply hurt. But back then, blinded by love, I thought if Jacob wanted it that way, it was fine. Before our wedding, I was to meet Jacob's parents. Jacob came from a single-parent family. When I nervously went to meet them, things went smoothly at first. But as the tension eased, a shocking conversation unfolded at the end of our first meeting.
It's great that you're such a nice girl. You seem so sincere. It's reassuring. Jacob can be a bit scatterbrained, you know. Well, yeah. I forgot to renew the lease on my apartment recently.
That's right. That did take me by surprise. Personally, I might be old-fashioned, but I wanted to follow the proper steps, so I wasn't keen on living together before marriage. However, when Jacob suddenly got evicted, our situation changed, and we started living together out of necessity. Living with someone, or rather with another person, was something I hadn't done in a while. At first, we had some minor arguments, but lately we've gotten used to each other's rhythms and are living quite comfortably. I was shocked at first, wondering if it was okay to marry someone like him. But I guess I found Jacob's cluelessness endearing, perhaps a maternal instinct. I had a good time with Jacob's mother, Rosa, laughing over his naturally clueless moments. I was relieved that the greeting went smoothly.
So, when can we start living together?
What?
Well, we're not having a wedding ceremony, right? So any time is fine. Really? Then when should we set it for?
Saying that, Rosa left her seat to check the calendar in the corner of the room. I was momentarily frozen, unable to grasp the situation, but took the opportunity to tug at Jacob's sleeve while Rosa was away. What? I don't really understand.
What? Didn't I tell you before we started dating that I grew up in a single-parent household, and that I'd live with my parent after getting married?
I tried to recall the conversation. I remembered him saying that, and I think I praised him for it, but we never discussed the specifics.
What? Is there a problem? After all, that's my primary condition for a spouse. You said I was great, remember?
Faced with Jacob's carefree smile, I found myself at a loss for words. Would complaining about living together mean the end of our marriage? That worry crossed my mind.
There are chores and cleaning to do, so let's talk again later. Dreama needs time to prepare, too.
Rosa, smiling just as carefreely, left me with only one thought. Like mother, like son. Afterward, I tried to think of a way out, but nothing came to mind, and I couldn't refuse to live together.
Starting next week, the three of us will be living together. I'm excited. Dreama will mostly be at home, and Mom's quite active and not often in, so it should be fine. Oh, we should all eat at least one meal together each day.
About sharing household chores and stuff. What about bath time? We decided to continue living in the same non-dual household house, as remodeling seemed like a waste of money, meaning everything would be shared. Jacob looked at me as if I'd said something absurd. I was shocked, but I knew I couldn't just let it end there. But you know laundry. Everyone has their own rules for laundry and food preferences, right? We even had fights over it at first. I think it would be good to have a talk about these things before starting to live together with Rosa, to get along better. I tried to keep the conversation light, making sure not to come off as negative.
Getting along well. That's right. Dreama, thank you for thinking about all this.
I somehow managed to persuade Jacob, but these rules ended up making my life more difficult. A few days after Rosa moved in, we decided to have a discussion. I thought it would be better to establish rules after a few days, as issues needed regulation would become more apparent.
Dreama is so serious about having this kind of discussion. Mom, she said it's necessary to accommodate your preferences. Isn't Dreama thoughtful?
Jacob's remarks made me realize that he hardly understood the point of what I had said. This meant that I was expected to do everything, and to also respect preferences.
Oh, is that so? I thought we'd be talking about dividing household chores. What a good girl. Well, yes, I mostly work from home. A few days a month, right? Besides, I'm rarely home because of my part-time job. I want us to eat at least one meal together daily, maybe breakfast. That's a great idea. I've been waking up early lately, so mornings work for me.
I mostly work from home and have a flexible schedule, able to shift work to evenings if needed during the day. However, I sometimes work late into the night, and one of our early fights when we started living together was about breakfast. So Jacob's suggestion surprised me. Didn't we fight about this when we first started living together? Mornings are tough for me. My blunt response took Rosa by surprise, and her smile vanished.
Oh, Dreama, aren't you making breakfast for Jacob?
I do, sort of. When I expect to sleep late, I prepare something in advance, and he just heats it up before going to work. Jacob seemed unbothered, but Rosa's attitude clearly changed.
Heating it up himself?
Sometimes I work until 2 a.m., and Jacob eats breakfast at 6, so it's hard for me. He prefers a set meal. Though I could easily make something simple like bread, Jacob wanted a more elaborate breakfast menu, which led to our current arrangement.
2 a.m., huh? Okay, I'll make breakfast most days. Dreama, you can do it on weekends.
Thank you.
Mom, you're doing chores? Isn't that hard with your part-time job? Dreama's at home all the time, and she's been taking it easy in the mornings. She should do it, right?
Jacob bluntly implied that I was pushing my work onto Rosa and taking it easy.
It's okay, Jacob. I love cooking, right? I'll make scrambled eggs tomorrow. Really, Mom? But let me know if it's too hard. Dreama can do anything.
Every word from Jacob left me with nothing but doubts, wondering if he would ever stand by my side. My anxiety about living together only grew. From Jacob's comments, I realized just how excessively fond he was of Rosa. Thus began my cohabitation life, without any guarantees.
Come on, breakfast time! I can't believe you sleep till the last minute. Can't you wake up early just for one day? Hurry up and help.
The next morning, Rosa barged into my room, snatched away the blanket, and woke me up. I had intended to help, but my alarm hadn't gone off. When I checked, I realized I hadn't set it, so I quickly got dressed and headed to the kitchen. Jacob was already seated, and Rosa was pouring soup.
I can't believe it. Hurry up and carry the soup over.
I'm sorry.
You got scolded right away. I knew you'd get scolded in the morning. but on the very first day...
Jacob laughed joyously, but the delicious smell of breakfast couldn't mask my revulsion.
Well, it can't be helped. I'll try hard with breakfast. Oh, and I only use a specific detergent for my laundry, so keep them separate.
Which detergent is that?
It's available near the station. I'll write down what I need you to buy later.
It seemed I was confirmed to do all other chores and cleaning, but I didn't expect to handle all of Rosa's shopping too. As time went on, the gap between my ideal married life and reality only added to my confusion. Rosa's attitude worsened when she realized I wouldn't resist, and Jacob did nothing to stop her, often laughing or even scolding me.
Oh, did you clean? I thought you hadn't, so I did it again. I'm so tired now. Can you give me a massage?
Rosa, who must have seen me cleaning the whole time, seemed to enjoy harassing me. She acted as if she had redone my cleaning, but in reality, she had just wiped the TV she was watching while lying down.
What? Mom, are you okay? Dreama, hurry up and massage her. Why are you troubling Mom like this?
I thought he should do it himself, since she's his mother. Rosa barely worked part-time once a week, and spent most of her time idly at home. I doubted she needed that much care. Just moments ago, I hadn't been able to eat dinner due to their incessant demands, and I was finally eating my cold meal. I'm eating right now. I responded weakly, feeling defeated.
Still eating? You're so slow. Eating too leisurely will make you gain weight, you know? Mom's probably in better shape, right?
I was stunned by such a disgusting comment, but Rosa seemed pleased with herself.
Stop it. There are times when you shouldn't say the truth. I've always been honest and straightforward, which is good. But as a woman, you should show some restraint.
Despite having complained about knee pain just moments ago, she quickly moved beside Jacob, looking satisfied. I didn't think I was particularly stylish, but I wasn't overweight, and since moving in, I had only lost weight. Disgusted with their little world, I quickly finished eating and proceeded with other chores. As a result of this lifestyle, either from lack of sleep or stress, I fell ill. I woke up with a high fever, barely able to get out of bed.
A fever? What about today's cleaning and chores?
What do you mean? What am I going to do? My temperature is nearly 104 degrees. I'm going to the hospital.
What? You're exaggerating. So what about dinner? You're not expecting Mom to handle it, right?
Despite my feverish state, I was aware that my feelings for Jacob were cooling. I won't rely on Rosa. Just let me sleep for now. Jacob and I slept in separate rooms due to his loud snoring, so I pushed him out of my room. After some rest, Rosa woke me up again.
What are you doing sleeping so long? What about my lunch? The cleaning?
Though slightly recovered and able to grasp the situation, the sharp headache intensified, worsened by Rosa's shrill voice. I'm going to the hospital now. I'll buy Rosa's lunch on my way back, handle dinner somehow, and do the rest tomorrow.
Really? Making such a fuss over nothing. You're so weak and useless.
I wish they could take care of themselves, but realized it was faster to just do it myself than argue. That day, they didn't help at all, and I had no choice but to clean the bathroom. The fever lasted 2 days, and on the second day, I managed by using delivery services. On the third day, feeling somewhat better, I went downstairs to find the living room in a terrible state. Delivery and grocery store trash were carelessly left in the sink, not in the trash can, and used dishes were everywhere. No laundry had been done, and it was piled up in front of the washing machine. I sorted the trash and ran the washing machine repeatedly, tears welling up. Feeling sick of this life, but too exhausted and unwell to consider leaving. I couldn't decide whether this situation was right or wrong. As a writer, I often find clarity in putting my thoughts into words, so I began to methodically record my current situation. It started as a sort of journal, but became a daily struggle in a negative loop, with work hardly progressing.
One moment I feel strange.
One morning, Rosa, who had eaten breakfast energetically, started complaining to Jacob while holding her head.
Mom, are you okay? Dreama, bring the thermometer and the medicine box.
When I handed over the thermometer, Rosa snatched it without a word of thanks.
Oh no, I have a high fever. What should we do?
She dramatically slumped to the floor. Jacob's response to Rosa's act left me speechless.
Really? 98.6 degrees? That's so high. Should I call an ambulance? Should I accompany you to the hospital?
Seeing them panic and fret, I couldn't help but find it ludicrous, compared to their indifference when I had 104-degree fever just days ago.
Did I catch it from Dreama?
Rosa blamed me, but we had hardly interacted since I hadn't been cared for at all. And to think, this was an issue from weeks ago. Jacob's reaction affirmed her accusation.
You take responsibility. Take a break from work to care for her.
That's right. You're not just useless. You're a nuisance. Go buy some isotonic drink for this good-for-nothing son's wife. Ignored when I had 104-degree fever, yet they make such a fuss over a 98.6-degree fever. Something inside me just cooled off, and my mind became clear. Why was I here? For whom and for what was I enduring all this? The words I had wanted to say for so long finally came out. Today, I quit being a wife.
What? Huh?
Ignoring their stunned faces, I gathered my valuables and left the house. That day, I stayed at a slightly nicer hotel and turned off my constantly ringing phone. I called my friend, Elika, a childhood friend who'd lived nearby when we were kids, and explained everything. She rushed over immediately. When I introduced Jacob to Elika after we started dating, she liked him. Initially shocked by my story, she soon joined me in angry tears after hearing the details. I wanted to protect the family I had finally made, but suddenly I lost all motivation and just had to leave. As I spoke with a faint smile, Elika looked even sadder. It's okay. Leave it to me. I've always been a bit timid and good at detailed work, while Elika strong-willed but somewhat rough around the edges, and I had overcome many challenges together. Elika then thumped her chest and gripped my hand tightly. Elika, Dreama, you did well. You did nothing wrong. You were amazing. Elika's straightforward gaze, filled with tears, made me break down and cry. After a good cry, I felt a renewed determination. I don't want it to end like this. We devised a detailed plan, reaching out to friends who could help, and executed it a few days later when the opportunity arose. The plan was a success, and that evening, I received an angry call from Jacob.
What do you think you're doing? Taking the furniture and appliances? And this paper, what is it?
Yes, we had moved out my furniture, appliances, and other important belongings while they were away. I only took what I used before marriage. See, I left the table you bought on your own, right?
But I can't even do laundry now. How am I supposed to live?
You never did laundry. Why do you need it now? The paper? It's a divorce application. Can't you see?
You useless, arrogant wife. I won't divorce you. How dare you take the kitchen knife?
That knife was an heirloom from my grandmother. I loved that house and didn't want to leave. I wanted to build a family there, but I've reached my limit.
Ha, this is your real home. Where will you go without any relatives?
Exactly. That's why I decided to move to a house where I can still smile, before I hate the house I loved and can't smile anymore.
What are you talking about?
There was a strange tone in his voice, and it seemed Rosa was listening on speaker. My words had taken her by surprise. Oh, Rosa, you sound well. Just yesterday you were so sick and spewing insults.
Since you left, I feel better. Stop being selfish and come back to do the housework. The furniture and appliances are marital property. You can't just take them.
Marital property? Jacob hardly contributed to the household finances. And Rosa, you didn't pay for rent or living expenses, right? There was a brief silence, probably because they couldn't refute the truth.
But soon a defiant voice responded. You're being so noisy. So what if I didn't give you money? Come back right now. I won't accept the divorce, and you should come back and say whatever you want to say.
Come back? To where? That house is no longer my home, and I won't be returning.
What are you talking about? That's your house, isn't it?
Yes, it was my house until you two barged in. I don't want to go back there, so I sold it. Originally, the cohabitation started because my house was bigger, and we could live together without paying rent. The plan Elika and I made was to sell the house and record all the abusive calls and voicemails we ignored during this time as evidence.
You sold it?
I have a lawyer, and I've recorded all your abusive language. I'll hand over the house by the end of the month, so you better leave quickly.
We can't leave that soon. That's right. You're heartless. We won't leave and won't sign the divorce papers.
All right, then we'll proceed through the lawyers. Despite their continued shouting, I had said what I needed to and ended the call. Days later, Elika, acting as my lawyer, went to speak with them, but they refused to leave and didn't even open the door. I had thought that given their nature, they might refuse to leave, so we decided to move on to our next plan. I was working from home as a writer, often writing about gourmet food and trends. Elika suggested writing an article for Housewives and getting permission for it. The idea was to turn what my husband and Rosa had done to me into a fictional manga. The editor, a married woman, was eager to help and introduced me to a manga artist. I had been a local writer for a long time, so many people knew my pen name. When the manga was published, it spread naturally among the locals. Even though it was fictional, those who knew I had left took it as the truth, and rumors started to spread. Hey, have you seen Dreamer recently? She lost weight and then disappeared, right? Did you see that manga? I saw it. Is that really fiction? We only see that mother and son now. It's strange, isn't it? Jacob and Rosa started going out only at night to avoid whispers, causing further trouble with the neighbors. Rosa, not wanting to go out alone, only went out at night when Jacob was there, and she seemed to be getting stranger. 2 weeks later, with only a week left until the deadline to leave the house, Elika visited them again. They opened the door looking haggard and complained to her about their situation. However, when they realized Elika wouldn't flinch at their insults, they finally started to listen to her. Did you sign the divorce papers? I've been watching for the past week. If you stay any longer, you'll face additional compensation claims and rent in the divorce proceedings. I'll sign the divorce papers and leave, but do something about those rumors. Stop publishing the manga. If you accept all the conditions, I'll make the manga private, but I can't do anything about the rumors. The label is fiction, and if they happen to be true, wouldn't that be your own doing? Elika told me how she demanded Jacob to pay the compensation in one lump sum and leave within a few days, and collected the divorce papers from him. Did Rosa say anything? Elika chuckled when I asked about Rosa's reaction, saying, Your mother-in-law was scolded by the neighbors, who used to dote on you since you were a child. They confirmed the facts and rebuked her. During our discussion, she just looked down and stayed silent. That's unexpected. My grandparents had lived in that area all their life, and the neighbors, sympathizing with my loss of parents at a young age, had always been kind and helpful. Here's the divorce application. Make sure to finish it properly. Thank you, Elika. I need to thank the neighbors, too. The impact of the manga was greater than I expected, and I realized how many people had supported me. So I successfully divorced and sold the house. A local real estate agent is renovating it into a shared house. I hope it will be filled with many smiles in the future. Later, I accidentally met someone from Jacob's company who told me about their current situation. They moved into an old apartment, but Rosa, now distrustful of people, refused to leave the house. Jacob, trying to please Rosa, ended up in debt and was eventually caught for embezzlement and sentenced to prison. His friends seemed to have given up on helping them. Meanwhile, I moved to a new house near my old one. The shopping street and the warm watchfulness of the neighbors remained the same. I planned to focus on my work for a while, but I didn't want to say I've given up on marriage. That would feel like admitting defeat. Hey, more rice, please. Isn't this your third bowl? It's okay. I don't gain weight easily. No, it's not about that. What's with your stomach capacity? Your cooking is just too delicious. Having a friend who's a great cook is a crime. Elika said thoughtfully, and we both laughed. I want to keep living, making the recipes my grandmother taught me, not giving up on my dream of creating a warm family where I can be happy.